But
Okay.
I just wanted to share how we came together to have this start. Barnaby and I check in on each other quite often. Hi, Rachel. And if you don't know, Barnaby was actually, it was the spark that started the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. We had conversed this 4 years ago in the summer, and I was planning a conference in the Midwest, which he thought was totally cool. He's like, mindfulness in the Midwest, that's where we need it. Well, we need it everywhere, but and then he's like, but you know what else we need? He's like, he had just come back from Coalition of Schools Educating Boys of Color, an event with them. And so yeah, to create a joining forces organization within the mindfulness and education field of what he saw emerging in the DOE, and we knew was happening many other places. And so since then, we've just, the foundation of COSM is just to create these learning experiences and connection experiences so that we can keep the whole emergence and field connected. But yeah, so we talked recently, and I'm like, well, we're working on our schedule for the year, and we usually do a few shorter series, like maybe a 4-week mindfulness fundamental series. Last year we did one with an offer on self-compassion for educators, and I asked if he had any ideas. You've always got great ideas, Barnaby. You wanna
Well, we were very,
share a little bit, and then we can start with the mindful practice.
yeah. The whole thing is, and hello, Katie, who just joined us. I'll try to catch people as they pop in. The whole idea behind this really emerged from having a sense of coming out of some powerful years that we've had the last 2 or 3 years, and Tracy having feeling a need to offer something for the membership at COSM that was going to really be of service to where we sort of have a sense of where everybody's at. But also, I had just spent the summer traveling around the country in connection to trying to get a sense of my own sense of what needs to be around supporting people around mindfulness. And actually, Michael met me at the very beginning of that journey when I landed at the Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, Arizona, and sort of began my own sort of reflection. And this idea of offering a series of opportunities for people who want to take a deeper look, almost like a kind of year-long think tank around what now, and what needs to happen now, what's really going on here in my life, is particularly in terms of coming out of COVID, coming out of period of where we're looking at a lot of social unrest in our country, climate crisis, and people wanting to respond mindfully to this and in ways that also are helping them feel more connected to what they're trying to realize and what they're trying to do in their own lives. And so that's where my head is at. And that's where my head was at when Tracy said, do you have any ideas? So I said, let's turn everybody into members of a think tank that lasts for a year, and we'll, there's some ideas and some concepts that I've been studying over the last 40 years, ever since I was a student at Cornell, that have become really important to me. And an opportunity to share these one piece at a time, and to engage, really only need one, you only need, when 2 or more are gathered in the name of trying to figure anything out, there's a good chance you're going to find some sense of a solution. So that's why we came up with this series. We're also creating this for the first time, putting it up on its feet. This will be something that will be offered many times in many places in the future, but now we're just sort of realizing this together for the first time. So I'm really grateful to you, Tracy, and to you folks who registered or who are showing up. When you're creating something like this from the ground up, you really have to manage your expectations. And so my expectation is it's already fulfilled. I have an opportunity to develop this material, but I think it's going to be of service to you. And I hope that it will be. And I'd like to talk about that. But Tracy, was there anything that you wanted to add or clarify at this point?
I forgot to introduce myself in case you haven't met me before. I'm Tracy Heilers. I'm founder of Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully, and I've been the executive director the last 4 years. And we're starting kind of a new phase where now we're moving to an operational team, because we have a lot of services we provide, mainly volunteer. So some of the board members stepped up, and now I'm part of the operational team, which is it's a nice feeling to be sharing all the behind the scenes work with a group.
Beautiful. And I didn't really introduce myself. My name is Barnaby Spring. So this is how you can tell we're onto something unique and organic. We're building this from the ground up. You know, I'm a long time actor, playwright, activist, educator, worked in the New York City Department of Education, started in the 90s as a teacher, dean of students, a principal, a senior administrator. And on February 2023, I'll be doing a lift and shift, working in, you know, some people call it retiring, but I can't call it retiring because I'll just be working on some other projects, mainly what I'm going to be speaking to you about in the course of this series. And I'm currently the acting principal at Urban Academy High School for Music and Art. I guess my engagement with this is that I was engaged to really spearhead a lot of the cultivation of mindfulness and yoga in the New York City Department of Education, working with Cheryl Watson Harris, who was the first deputy chancellor at the time. And we'll tell you more stories about that. But that's who I am for now. More will be revealed. We want to give folks maybe a little time to tell us about themselves, but I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a good idea to just touch base and do a little mindfulness practice. And this is always done by invitation. Even if you've been practicing mindfulness for years and you have other wisdom traditions or spiritual practices that engage various kinds of meditation or holistic. In mindfulness, I like to invite folks to join me. And we know that we have accomplished practitioners here, but really it's almost as if starting with a beginner's mind. So in that sense, I'd like to invite you to join me in just taking a few minutes to come to a place of stillness and silence. What do I mean by that? You know, this is going to be for people who are primarily educators, but it's really for professionals practicing in all kinds of different fields and spaces and places. So really, it's not so much about stillness as in sit still or silence as in be quiet. It's more like allowing stillness, allowing the stillness that's there, allowing the silence that is there to just be. So I'd invite you to enter into the present moment of that from wherever you are in your life. You can close your eyes, you can open your eyes. The invitation is to let your feet be connected to the floor. They could be flat on the floor. But even more, the invitation is to get into a comfortable position where you can relax. You can be sitting in a chair, you can be standing, you can be lying down. But the sense is that your body is resting. If you're sitting in a chair, there's a sense of posture that you might want to just lightly touch, a sense of the spine extending gently up from your sits bones where you're seated in the chair, gently as if you're lifting a string on the back of your head and gently extending the top of your head up towards the sky. There's this sense of your feet connecting to the ground, the earth, to a sense of the top of your head connecting to the sky. So there's sky above, earth below, human being in the middle, joining sky and earth. Then, of course, the invitation to notice. Certainly the invitation to notice the breath, how we breathe in and how the breath moves out. We're not doing breathing. We're simply allowing ourselves to breathe as we breathe. Noticing what the direct, valid experience is of the breath. Where do you experience breathing? Do you feel something at the tip of your nose? Do you feel it in your chest, in your belly, in your lower back? It's different for each person. You could take a moment and simply place your hand where you feel the breath. You could. Everything is by invitation. Simply having this sense of connecting to the present moment. Noticing any tension and allowing that tension to leave you. If there's tension in your thinking, or if there's tension in your heart with your feeling, if there's tension in your physical body, take a moment to simply notice it, allow it to be, and allow it to be released on an exhale. Just noticing that rhythm of your breathing and knowing that you can take a moment to check in with this simple practice whenever you need to. Just to notice and appreciate stillness, silence, breathing. I invite you to wiggle your toes a little bit. You could tap your knees with your fingertips. You could gently open your eyes. You can take a stretch with your arms. You can reach up. And notice whatever you notice. Has anything shifted? Or maybe nothing has shifted. Welcome to my buddy, David Forbes. Good to have Dr. David Forbes here. People are landing in process, so you joined us right after a nice little mindfulness practice. David, you're on mute if you're trying to say hello. So 718, you're here, and I'm glad you're here. Why don't we take a moment? And Tracy, I don't know if we need to do breakout rooms, but maybe we could let folks just introduce themselves and say why they're here, what attracted you to this, just so that we can begin to create that sense of community. So I know that Tracy introduced herself. I've introduced myself. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself? So this is perfect. We're going to be picking up steam, and we're going to be attracting people to this as we go. We had 27 people register. I know a lot of people said they wanted to be here. Let me take some time. This is an introductory evening. We'll get more into the work as we roll. But I think I'd like to show you and talk to you about this series, and to let you know that this is really coming from a different place than the context of my work in public education. The question that began to emerge in me over the last few years is, how do we apply mindfulness to asking some deeper questions about what's really going on here? And again, the social unrest, the COVID pandemic, the climate crisis, the things that are happening even in the world on a global scale, the immigration, the migrant crisis, the evidence of a turning towards fascism and authoritarianism in our government systems. A lot is happening all at the same time. It's a kind of perfect storm, and it's challenging, and it's been challenging for all of us. So I'm going to try to share my screen. I should know how to do this. And of course, I've already forgotten how to do it. Where's share screen? Isn't there a share? How do I do that, Tracy?
Bottom middle.
Bottom.
Chat.
I know, I should know. Look at it. It's right there. Look at that. I completely blew away. I want to send you or show you the breakdown for this.
Do you mean to share it in the chat, or do you want to screen share it?
I'm going to pull it up on my my screen here, and you guys tell me if you see it. Can you see that?
Yep.
So this is what we're doing. Tonight, we're just introducing the series. There's going to be an assignment. I want there to be a sense of a think tank, of the people who are coming here, getting something that's answering something within them around really something that they're trying to come to terms with, to create or to put into the world. We'll talk more about that. But tonight, I'm just giving you the introduction. I'll give you a sense of where we're at. We'll have a little bit of an assessment too that I'd like to invite you to consider using and sending back to me. But this month, today, it's the introducing you to the series. The assignment is really going to be connected to Keith Jarrett's famous colon concert. And I'll talk to you some more about that. In October, I really want to take a look at story. So again, another way you could think about this is mindfulness of, and then you could look at the title. So I think that it's very important for us to think about our stories right now, our individual stories, and to think about whatever our personal narratives are, and we'll do some work around that. I have an exciting person that I hope will be coming to speak with us. We'll send you the date. It'll be the last week of October. All of these will be happening the last day of the month. In November, I'd like to take a look at the Sustainable Development Goals, mindfulness of the Sustainable Development Goals. These were developed by the World Economic Forum, and these are 17 specific goals that many people sort of came to agreement around, that we need to deal with these 17 goals. These are human species-based issues that if we don't come to terms with them, it doesn't matter what we want to do, what we want to be, or where we want to practice mindfulness. Our capacity to do so is going to be seriously impaired in one way or the other. I'd like to take some time in this series of talks to think about those sustainable development goals. In December, I'd like to introduce you to something that I discovered in 1979 as a student, starting my freshman year at Cornell University, a classic text from China called the I Ching. And I won't even try to describe this as any other thing than probably one of the most important critical thinking tools that I use in my life to help me get outside of my fixed thinking. My fixed thinking can also be called toxic automaticity or habit loops, not being able to look at problems outside of the box, but constantly looking at a problem from the same circumstances that created the problem. And of course, I think it was Einstein who said that as long as we're doing that, we're never going to realize a solution to the problem. But I'll say more about the I Ching and the dynamics of change that text is all about. In January, I'd like to think about the creative act. Again, mindfulness and the creative act. I want to take a look at the work of Arthur Koestler and a particular text that he wrote called The Creative Act. Koestler was a journalist and an activist and a deep thinker who wrote a phenomenal book around the struggles that both scientists and artists go through when they are in the process of trying to solve a difficult problem. So much of this is about how do we come to terms with difficult problems, difficult challenges. So that's what we'll do in January. In February, I'd like to take a deeper look at something called praxis and pluralism. Now, the name of this, the title of this is called a Praxis series. Now, I'm thinking of praxis in terms of how it was described by the great educational worker and theorist Paulo Freire, who wrote an incredible text called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And praxis, from Paulo Freire's point of view, were the actions and reflections that we take in relationship to addressing issues in the world. So this is something that I think mindfulness needs to be joined with or can be support of. And pluralism, particularly the new pluralism, is something that I'm learning about in relationship to the work of Hannah Arendt and some other people who talk about three kinds of work: the work of labor, when we're just working to live and living to work; the work of productivity, when we're being productive, but we're not necessarily, it's sort of what most of us are. We're productive. We don't necessarily own what it is that's being produced. We don't make a lot of the major decisions about it, but we're earning a paycheck. We're getting a pension. We're getting benefits. We're being effective. In a sense, it's when we become instrumentalized, which is not a bad thing. And then, of course, the third kind of work that she talks about is action. The work of action. And Hannah Arendt talks about this in terms of, and Hannah Arendt, by the way, is a great philosopher, activist, and a person who thought a great deal around what are government systems for and what should they be all about. She also wrote a lot about the threat of totalitarianism and how that can come up in different ways in different places. I'd like to join mindfulness with questions like that. Questions about action that comes from freedom, not freedom to do whatever you want, but freedom to bring into existence that which has not previously existed before. Now, that's going to be a big moment for us in our little journey, and I'm working my way up to that. But I think, and part of the overall message that I want to realize in this work is that mindfulness is a wonderful thing to help us manage stress, to help us self-regulate. Believe me, I still need it for the same reasons the kids in the schools need it. I get overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings and physical sensations. And sometimes I want to say and do things that, if I didn't know how to self-regulate them, I'd be in trouble. So I'm with the kids on this one. But another part of me is very clear that mindfulness in and of itself can be a way to help us deal with serious issues that we are facing as human beings and as a species, not just in our individual lives, but collectively. And so I really want to get into this question of how does mindfulness bring into existence that which has not previously existed? Now, you may think that that's some kind of a deep question, but if I go back to my view of everybody's face, I'm looking at examples of that which has not previously existed. There has never been a David Forbes. There has never been a Katie Gleason. We, in and of ourselves, are all individual sustainable development goals. And I think there's a method to my madness in what it is that I'm proposing here. In May, I want to think about makers, mindfully making. What is the world that we need to make? What is the life that we need to make? We're making things. You know, I feel in some ways that the circumstances of our lives today, and this is just my humble opinion, so many of our institutions, so many of our ways of thinking, our ways of being are clearly not working. They're falling apart. And in those moments, there are opportunities to realize and to bring into existence and to make new things. I mean, some of you even talked about the things that you're making, the new things that you're making, the things that you're bringing into existence. And I'm like that too. I know that we each face a lot of individual struggles when we have to do that, you know, where it didn't just come out of like, oh, I guess I'll do that. It emerges out of incredible struggle and disappointment, you know, and pain. So I want to get into that because that's what I know. The people who I know told me they want to come to this. They're people who are making things. They are creating things. And then in June, I really want to begin to work towards wrapping this up in terms of what is our thread of continuity. We're going to go on this journey. You're going to have assignments, and you're going to get out of this what you put into it. But the real question is what is the thing that resonates from one session to the next? It's almost like what, so what, now what? That's a great protocol. So there's the what of mindfulness. There's the what of mindfulness as a thing. What is it? There's the so what. Well, so what? You can use it for this, and this. And we live in a world now where we have many kinds of discourse, discussion, and debate around. We have Dr. Forbes here. David has inspired me to really think about this on a deeper level. What is mindfulness for in different spaces? Is it a way to teach people how to simply continue to focus on the things that you want them to focus on in terms of, you know, becoming functional, obedient members of a state? Or is it something that we can use to discover, to realize? So we're going to take a look at the what, so what, and now what. And then, of course, we're going to celebrate. And we will be realizing as people share and as people give how this wants to be. I want to create something that's going to be an experience for all of us, that works for all of us. So that's the overall view. We're trying to be true to staying on a 1 hour mark. We started a little late, but I wanted you to see that so that you have a sense of the overall view, and that'll be shared in the member site. And Tracy's going to make sure everybody knows how to join that. Now, I'd like to shift a little bit and give you a sense of where I'm coming from when I talk about assessments. So for this journey, I'd like to really challenge myself to be of service to those of you who make the decision to come on this journey with me. I actually went on a journey this summer. I mean, I put myself in some powerful situations. I went to Oak Creek Canyon. I could tell you stories about this, but I did it so that I could really know where I'm coming from in offering this course. And this is a course. You could think of it as a MOOC, a massive online open course. So what do I need to know, understand, and be able to do to accomplish this journey? You know, there's the work behind the work. And this is where we get into things that help me to help you in terms of some kind of an assessment, a general sense of what are we bringing into this experience, right? So I'd like to have a sense of what your prior knowledge is, what your understandings are. In some cases, I know already. And hello to my friend, Sally. I see her name popped up. Hello, Sally. But I'd really like to know a sense of where everybody's coming from around their own assessment of mindfulness and how it has helped them to deal with life on life's terms, to be productive, and to bring into the world that which has not previously existed before. That is really something that I'm holding myself to, in terms of, even if you have that, giving you the time and space to notice and appreciate that. This is something I want to do for each person as an individual. So assessments help. So you don't have to do this now, but we're going to send this form out, and we're going to make a way for you to respond so that I have a sense. And don't say anything that you're not comfortable saying. And you don't even have to say anything. You don't even have to do it. Or you can call me up, but this is what I'd like to know so that I can be of service to you. How long have you been studying mindfulness or yoga or any kind of a contemplative or formal practice? Who have you studied with? This sometimes can be very helpful to me in terms of having a sense of the whole group. Have you ever seen a murmuration of birds? They call them murmurations of starlings. Have you ever seen that? It's incredible. All the starlings are moving, and it looks like a cacophony, but it's a beautiful, well-designed, there's a sense of structure to the whole thing. And so in a way, all your different experiences, all your different directions, what you can share with me will help me as the facilitator to take that in and be mindful and aware of what you need. So who have you studied with is helpful. And are you now, or have you ever, there's a reason why I said it that way. Are you now, or have you ever taught mindfulness, yoga, or related contemplative practices? I want to know if you've been teaching. I want to know where you are with that in terms of your own praxis, your own action and reflection in the world. What is it that you're trying to bring into the world? And again, I know that I'm talking to people who are really engaged in that. And this is important to me because we are the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. You are here within a certain container and context. And it would be helpful to have a sense of your own sense of where you are with using mindfulness to clarify, set, affirm, and reaffirm intentions. That's important. That's a big part of mindfulness. It helps us touch base. David has that clock that ring, or the bell that rings every 30 minutes. Part of that bell, I think, and he'll let us know, is to connect with a sense of centering, a sense of being aware. It's almost a metacognitive moment, I would imagine. But I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I have no experience, no capacity, and 5 being a great deal direct, valid experience in this area, of where you are with using mindfulness to cultivate awareness, using mindfulness to cultivate and apply self-regulation, right? Let's not, look, I'm 61 years old. I'm not going to front. Sometimes I think the main reason I need to practice mindfulness is so that I don't end up, locked up in a jail, kicked out of my house by my wife, or, I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you that mindfulness helps me to have a sense of self-regulation and to use skillful means in diplomatic and effective ways. So please feel free. And don't say anything that you don't want to share. You don't have to do it. And the other thing is, how do you use mindfulness, and where are you on a scale of using mindfulness to stabilize, strengthen, and apply your chosen attentional focus? I want to say a little bit about this because I think this is a big thing that's coming out. In fact, I know it is. I've talked to people working with the U.S. Department of Education, and this is the big thing: is how do we teach? How do we develop? How does mindfulness help us to pay attention to that which we freely choose to pay attention to, as opposed to being inculcated with blinders and being told that that's paying attention? You see where I'm getting at with this? I think it's something that warrants our investigation. And also it's something that we all might identify with. How do I stay with a problem? How do I stay with taking a look and leaning into some of the difficult questions of life, so that I'm not just using mindfulness to bliss out or to become sort of mindfully numb in a non-engaged, non-socially engaged way, but really, how do I use mindfulness to stay when it's hard to stay? And then, of course, what experience do I have with using mindfulness to practice loving kindness towards myself and others? This is something that you can consider. You can think about it. You don't need to answer this now. Tracy's going to tell you how you can respond to me, and you can put it on the web, on the member site, or you can send it to me. But I want you to feel invited to know that I'm committed to this journey. I'm going to be realizing this work. I'm grateful that anybody is here. My dear wife has watched me for the last 19 years talk about all this to the cat, to our son, to the plants, so you're already giving me what I need. I want this to be of benefit to you. So this is the question that I'm asking, and in asking all of us to please consider holding the space for. Using mindfulness, utilizing mindfulness, engaging mindfulness to have really, as honest as we can, conversations about what's really going on here. What's really going on here? And these notes are notes that I wrote to myself and realizing this. So I'm giving you an inside look at how my own thinking is working. But really, I sense that there's something that wants to be in the midst of all this crisis that's going on. The pandemic, climate crisis, threats to democracy, threats to freedom, Roe versus Wade. That happened. I was weeping that. I called Rachel up from Botanic Gardens, apologizing to her. I never thought in my life that I would be doing that in this country. So yes, this is not a DOE. I'm not coming to you as a member of the DOE. I'm coming to you as a citizen on this planet and in this country, and knowing that there's things that you want to contribute. I don't necessarily want to get into the politics. At the same time, I don't want to deny that wanting to breathe is a political action in this country. So I'm going to acknowledge the reality of both. So my question to you is, where are you with your own readiness around this? Where are you as our visitor today, as a fellow traveler among mountains and streams who popped into this session today? How ready are you to deal with the fact that something has to change? Let's just think about it like that. There's a song that a buddy of mine sings in a band. The name of the band is We Banjo 3. They're a folk Irish band, and one of their songs is "Something Has to Change." And so, or maybe that's a line in the song, but they sing it. It comes in such a beautiful way that I always think about it. So how ready are we even for change? How ready are we to bring into the world that which has not previously existed before? I see names. I remember when Sally first started introducing a new way to think about mindfulness in terms of equity and anti-racism, I believe. And I'm remembering when Tracy wanted to bring in a structure for teachers in the Midwest. We tend not to think that there's a Midwestern part of this country. It's like California or New York, right? No, not throwing any shade at California, New York, but people who are bringing into the world. Jackie, I met at a coffee shop, who, is around the corner. David Forbes, who has done so much work bringing so you're all here for the right reason. Barb, you're and Barak, but and I'll get the names right. I'll get the pronunciations right, but everybody is here for a reason. And the people who registered, I know a lot of those people are coming. So my question for you, and we'll send this to you, is how ready are you? There's going to be some asks around this work. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to provide some talks, interviews, videos, websites, activities, I'm down. I have a whole 40 years worth of stuff that I'm ready to share. But this is not going to work without you also. You're going to get out of this what you put into it. And this is something that Paulo Freire talked a lot about too, is that, and this is the point of a pluralistic society as well, is nobody knows everything and everybody knows something. If you can commit to this series and commit to doing the assignments, that is going to help all of us. Our active participation is the thing that benefits all of us the most. This is why everybody's so up in arms around engaged mindfulness, engaged meditation, socially engaged yoga, yoga off the yoga mat, and it's one of the things that I know that David has really challenged the explosion of mindfulness. And also in a culture such as ours, the ways in which anything can be weaponized. Human beings left to their own devices without checks and balances like democracy can weaponize something without even intending to. So I'm hoping that you will engage, give me feedback, send me questions, use the member site so that we have a deeper sense of how to really keep ourselves. It's funny. I think one of the hardest things for us to do in the world today is to be honest, to literally have the capacity to be honest with ourselves. And, this isn't therapy. This isn't, nobody's required to have an open thing, but I do believe that if we can come here and take a risk of being as authentic as we can be, this is what the children are saying. Kids know what culturally responsive education is. They're saying, see me where I am and don't be ashamed when I see you where you are. Be real with me. Nothing could be more culturally responsive than that. So how ready are we to do that? How ready are you to share your knowledge, your understanding? I want this to be a full tilt boogie, like, wow, he will never do it like that again, kind of thing, where you can say you went through this journey and you got something out of it. And it's direct and valid and helpful for you. I'd also like to, and so I want you to respond to these to me, respond to them and take a day or two. The next session is until the end of October. So get back to me. Tell me what your learning preferences are. These are things that are important for any teacher. How do you like to learn? What is it? By doing, by reading, by dreaming? Are you a visual learner? What multiple intelligence thing? This is something that I believe good teachers do before they even start teaching a class of students. And again, I want to be true to the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully, but I also want to model for you guys as my fellows who are engaged in a lot of this work. Why this is so important. So tell me, because I want to be the facilitator. I want to be the trusted servant of this process for a year, and I want to carry the space for this. I want to know what your interests are. And this is really important, especially now. What is the thing that you've always wanted to do? What's the dream? What attracts you? What do you notice and appreciate? What do you want to get closer to in your personal and your professional life? Again, this isn't a tell-all. I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable, but share what you feel comfortable to share. So that is going to be shared with you. I'm asking you to indulge me because we got started a little late and we're already realizing that the assignment is something that we're going to give to you to investigate. And maybe we'll start off with that assignment when we come back. But I want to tell you a little story. And that's how we'll turn this over to Tracy. You know, when I graduated from high school, it wasn't just graduating from high school. I was leaving 8 years of institutionalized youth care. I had grown up in a home for boys. And you know how you left home? You packed up a Foot Locker and you were gone. My son is at NYU. He just moved into the dorm. His process of moving into that dorm, I have no reference points for that whatsoever. I was given a Foot Locker and it was like, gone, see you later. Cornell was the place where I landed. I had a full scholarship to Cornell University. Can you imagine what it was like moving from 8 years of institutionalized youth care, where the average reading level of my graduating class was 7th grade, to living in a co-ed dorm, girls on the same floor as I, 8 years, a home for boys? There were a lot of challenges. There were a lot of things that, you know, I was overwhelmed, folks. The challenge was immense. I felt lost. I did not feel like I belonged. But I was like Richard Gere in An Officer and a Gentleman. I had nowhere else to go, you know. With me, Tracy?
Yeah, I stopped the screen share so we could.
So I want you to appreciate this thing. I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. I was where I think a lot of our children and a lot of even our leaders in this world are. People don't know what to do. People feel lost. People want to quit. They call it the Great Resignation. People don't even want to come back to work. The suicide rate of our children is up. The opportunities for a kind of boot in your face solution, it's rising. Authoritarianism is there. So there I am at Cornell. And I discover this record called the Cologne concert. Keith Jarrett performing this concert. There was something in that music that lifted me up. It sustained me. No therapy, no social emotional learning skills, none of that even existed. This is the early 80s. That concert, listening to that record, saved my life. The music of that gave me resilience, gave me resolve. I made a deep connection with art and with different kinds of art. The assignment that I have for you is to listen to this concert. It's called the Cologne concert. I want you to know it almost didn't happen. He improvised the whole thing. Everything fell apart when he was supposed to give this performance. He was wearing a back brace. I mean, there are moments when things come to us from nowhere that speak right to our souls, right to our hearts, and they lift us up. They give us the ability to not quit. It's like the thing that happens before we even decide to look into mindfulness, or it's the thing that happens that make us think, wow, I want to stay with, what do I need to do to make sure I never lose the lesson? So that's where I want to start with you. This sense of like when Dante started the Inferno by saying that he was lost in a dark wood. I'm not afraid to admit that I think in many ways, my country right now is lost in a dark wood. And I'm also very excited about that because I know that When you're lost, that's when things get discovered. That's when discovery happens. For some people who practice mindfulness, I do think have a sense of possibility. So the assignment that I have for you is to listen to the Cologne concert. You're going to have it. And the assignment is that I want you to really think about what is the Cologne concert for you. That's what that work of art means to me. What's the work of art that before you got into mindfulness and learned how to notice and appreciate and taste and sense, and what was the thing that came to you where you were in the midst of almost a kind of oblivion, a work of art? I want to keep it to something of beauty, a work of art that gave you a reason for getting out of bed in the morning, kept you showing up. And then I want you to tell us the story about that. I'd like you to write a couple paragraphs about what that work of art is, also where you were, what was happening, how it helped you, and how do you use that in your own mindfulness practice? Because I bet it's still pretty much important part of your life. And that's the assignment. I think what part of our plan was to play some of that, but I think rather I want to make sure that you get the link and take the time, because this is the thing. I want to propose that we use mindfulness as a critical thinking tool to investigate. I want us to use mindfulness in this series of Praxis to use mindfulness to conduct inquiry, to really hold things in the space of our attention that maybe have always been there, but we haven't taken the time to reconnect with them. What is that work of art? Could be a painting, could be a song, but I want you to read the article about the story behind the Cologne concert, and I want you to listen to it, and I want you to come back to us with whatever that is for you. Everybody's got something, some great piece of art that it holds deep meaning for you, right? Or maybe a time when you were faced. Tell us the story of a time when you were faced with a situation like Keith Jarrett was faced. Insurmountable obstacles. And yet the show had to go on. You didn't want to give up on yourself. You know, that's what it was like for me at Cornell. I'll be honest, man. Woo. Don't even get, I mean, wow. But that music helped me. So that's the assignment. If you have questions, you have my email. If you have feedback, give the feedback right away. The criticism is good. If you have, you're like, Barnaby, I didn't like that, or Barnaby, if you know, this is part of what a pluralistic society is about. I get to take action and put things into the public space, but part of what makes it even better is when it gets criticized. It needs to be critiqued. This is a country that freaks out when things get critiqued. They try to hush everybody up about that. I'm secure in what I'm doing. I know I'm good. I'm good. So come at me. Try to be gentle, because I am like an oyster without a shell and my feelings are sensitive. But, you know, don't be afraid to give me feedback. I know my wife's going to give me feedback if there's anything I've said during this last hour that wasn't okay. Tracy, would you like to tell us a little bit about the logistics or the technicalities?
Yeah, I'll just take a few minutes here. And if you're already on the member site, like a member, and know how to get into the groups and such, then you don't need to stay for this part. But I have been adding, Barnaby, links in the chat as you've gone, but all of those links are in the special group that we created on our member site. So our coalition uses the Mighty Networks community building platform. it kind of looks like Facebook in that you can share things and have conversations, and you can message people. We have over 1,000 people on the member site. There's just, I mean, there's not a lot of engagement happening there, but I think that the structure of it and be able to create a group just for this, people in this series. So it'll be a private group that, and I know everybody who's registered, so I'll invite people into the group. You'll get an email, or you can go to the group and say, you know, and I want to get into this group, and that'll send me a message. But so the first step I just want to share with you, I'm going to share a screen, is to become a member, and anybody can become a member, and we offer full financial health scholarships to anyone. So I want to show you how to do that. Share screen, and this will just take 2 or 3 minutes here to show you.
How much is membership?
So if you go, I put one of the links was educatingmindfully.org. That's our website. And then you'll click membership up here at the top, and it'll tell you about our membership. We do annual dues of $79.99. And then we also have a lot of schools and organizations who do group memberships for unlimited people in their group. So like Delaware Department of Education is a member. We have 17 ROEs in Illinois that are members. But if you look to the second paragraph right here on the membership page, it says, click here for a full financial aid scholarship. So we want to have this be accessible to everyone. So once you become a member, there'll be a link after you fill out a form that you'll click to join the member site, which again is Mighty Networks we use. And this is what the member site looks like. You can get to the member site by, it's CASM.mm.co, which we know is totally horrible to remember. So we actually have a link at the top of our website that just says member site. You click that, it'll get you there. But I always encourage people to put the app on their phone, because hey, you're somewhere and you've got nothing to do, and you've already, you know, meditated for your 5 or 10 minutes. You can open up the app and you can be like, oh, I haven't watched the Colon concert yet. I'm going to go to the group site and click the link, and then you can listen to it. So what you'll do once you get on the member site.
Tracy, can I just quickly add something, and forgive me?
Yeah.
You folks, almost every one of you, have told me about things that you're in the process of creating. Tell us about it. Upload information on that. This can also be a clearinghouse, a kind of hub for people to identify with and give and connect people. You know, as soon as we want to be, we can become the champions, the thought partners, and the connectors for one another. And we can use this site that Tracy has developed for us, you know, and really have something that meets and exceeds whatever our expectations are of this experience. Sorry, Tracy.
No, that's awesome. So on the member site, just to show you the menu here, one of the great things about it is we have a learning center. We have over 150 past events that have been recorded that you can access. So all of our conference sessions, and if you need to earn CEUs or PDs, it's view trackable. So we can track the viewing, and you can get PDs and CEUs for watching and attending. I put the attendance link in the chat at one point here too. If you think you might want to earn some clock hours, make sure to click that link that I put in. We have an events area where you can, if you can get each month, you can, well, where we got? Let's go to events. So you can go and see, you can see the next Praxis series. You'll click on it, and then you'll be like, oh, I need the meeting link, and you'll click right here. You can get right in and RSVP for it. But the special group we've created here, we'll click groups, is this Praxis series. And we have a lot of public groups, like we have a book study group with our Educating Mindfully group. We have a private group for people doing our micro-credential. We have public groups where anybody can access, like Spanish resources. But you'll click the Praxis series, and I will also invite everybody who RSVP'd for this. And I've already added like the first assignment here. And again, these are optional, you know, but it will be great if it was be awesome if we all do it before next session, so we have something to share. But yeah, so you have the YouTube link to the Cologne concert, you have the article to learning more about all that was overcame to do it. And you can share right here by doing share your thoughts. You can share some thoughts, or you can email.
Definitely, that's beautiful. Yeah.
We can have a conversation right here, just of sharing some of even the artifact art stuff ahead of time. We also have the series overview with we'll put all of the assignments at the end of this doc, and it has we'll just kind of that'll be our general overview document that we'll keep adding to. And here's the assessment link, and when you click that link, it's going to prompt you to make a copy, and then you'll have your own doc that you can reflect and kind of use as a journal, or however much you want to share there. You can keep it private, you can share it with Barnaby or email Barnaby. But yeah, but this is our group, and we can just at the top, you'll see your little image. If you choose to share that up at the top here, you can create a profile and share a little bit about yourself there, and add a picture if you like. We love that, and we can be sharing here and connecting together between sessions. That's all I had to share. I know we are running late. If you had to hop
yeah, thanks, Tracy. I just want to say to folks, if you feel like, if you're like me, I'm a digital immigrant. My son is a digital native. I'm a digital immigrant. If you need help, Tracy, I'm sure will help you. You can let me know. I'll send you things. I want to just say, Tracy is a parent. Within the context of, you think about all the different people and stakeholders in public education, Tracy is a parent. She called me up. She wanted to start something. She did it. It's massive, the potentials and possibilities for what she's done. But this was a parent outside of Chicago. And I talked her in to creating this whole thing. And I feel very committed to delivering in a deep way and drawing from the last 40 years of my life. You know, one of the people I went and checked in with was Martin Harwood, an astrophysicist. He was the head of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. He was my professor at Cornell. I told him about all this stuff. He wants me to start teaching it at Cornell. And I said, I don't have a PhD. And he started laughing. He said, you know how many students I've had with PhDs who haven't, you know, I've been on a journey. I'm still on a journey. I want you to come with me on this journey. Katie, I'm so glad you're here. Katie and I met. Katie was telling me about her experiences. There are people trying to do things. You need to connect with each other. And because we're also clear about mindfulness and the powers of mindfulness for good, not for exploiting people, but for flourishing people, I have to tell you that I believe that Tracy did something incredibly amazing. And we're at the beginning stages. We're still like that little shoot of a plant that's breaking up out of the ground. So we're not supposed to have a lot of people. The people who we do have are people we need to take care of. And we want to make sure you have a good experience. The Cologne concert, Bara, is, I don't know, I think it's about an hour. I don't think it's more than an hour. He did this thing out of nowhere. He literally was pulling melodies. You're going to see it. You'll read the article. It's going to, but I'm sure you have an equivalent of that. There's the whatever, maybe you don't like piano and you
more than one. I'm sure I've got a book full of equivalents.
So we need to know those so that we can begin to connect with each other through things of beauty, things of meaning. And of course, we'll have this journey. Am I missing anything?
No.
You drive all blames into me. Send all, if there's anything that you need, we want this to really be something that is novel in the sense that it emerges in accordance with its being. But I guarantee you, it's only going to be as fulfilling as what we are each individually
In
will.
Illinois, a woman can choose whether or when to have a family, but Darren Bailey wants to make those decisions for.
I was gonna start listening to the concert.
Oh, so I hope that you come back, bring a friend. We can plug them in wherever they are. I'm sure you know some people in your lives who could use something like this. It's not because there's anything special about me or what I'm doing, but because this is happening all over the place. You know, some people still want to be a part of the solution rather than to simply continually react in the midst of all this insanity that we're moving through. So that's all I got. If you want to play the Colon concert, you can, but I'd like you to really take your time to really investigate it. Any closing statements? Boy, seeing Sally's face is a trip. I haven't seen you in such a long time, Sally. And David, thank you so much. Michael, I'm glad to hear. Rachel, thank you. And Barb, the work that you're doing. I think we had a chat about, was it you? You know, a lot of people are developing a lot of powerful programs for mindfulness and education, but you all need time and space to think about what you want to do with mindfulness for yourselves in relationship to your creative acts. Okay, that's all I got. Take a moment for yourselves tonight. We don't need to do it online, but be gentle with yourselves. Thank you so much. And send me that assessment, send me that information, or send me whatever you want to say. Tell me what you thought worked, what didn't work. Okay. And I'll see you soon. I'll see you in October.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Barnaby.
Bye.